right, Bubba Jenkins.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure to meet you in person.
Eric.
Chael, you're a legend.
Thank you.
Welcome to Stanton Social in Caesar's Palace. Beautiful place. I am definitely coming back here for dinner tonight.
Are you feeling a little subdued right now? I've never really seen you with such a. Is it him? Is he making you nervous?
No, man. It's the stage that I'm on. It's not. It has nothing to do with you guys. I'm normally in that let's get it mode, and now I'm wearing the tie.
You look fantastic. By the way.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't get the dress code until I was already on the plane. That's when I get the text message. Bring a sports coat. I'm like, oh, I should have known that though. Of course, you're going to work. You should have brought a sports coat.
But that's the great thing about being athletes is nobody really expects you to dress flashy, but when you do, it's just a little added bonus.
I think they expect that of the bad man. If you see me on camera, they expect me to get fly.
Guys, I'm really excited to have you here. Play-by-play for Real American Freestyle, color commentary for Real American Freestyle, and Chael and I were talking about it a little bit. The right combination of play-by-play and color delivers so much to the overall product. And being straight up with you guys, I'm so excited about working with both of you.
Well, thank you.
Because it's hard to find people with the experience, the knowledge, the credibility, but can also entertain the audience.
Yes,
And
thank
that's
you.
what you guys are so good at.
I was in the stands. My relationship with Bubba was as a fan. I watched him, and he got this big dispute. He's at Arizona State, and he runs into the guy that goes on to be the Olympic champion. They meet up in the national finals, and Bubba and I actually did a show together. We did a season of The Ultimate Fighter 17, 2012.
Top 17, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
2012. It ended up being the highest rated Ultimate Fighter that there's ever been. So we are on opposite sides of it.
You had a good team and a good plan, and one of the reasons why I dressed up so beautifully is because I knew he was going to say something, man. Everybody knows when Chael gets on camera, he steals it. So if I'm not going to say the right things, at least I'm going to look good. Look at me. Just look at me.
I mean, that's what Bubba said to me when we connected over the phone. I said, well, I'm a color commentator. We got Chael Sonnen. He goes, oh, I'm going to have to up my game.
I flex for this one. I got all ready for this one, my man. We got the bad man and the bad guy. It's going to be a good night, though.
And Izzy Martinez right in the middle. As you said earlier, everything he touches turns to gold, so I'm taking that one to the bank.
He's the Midas of the wrestling world. I cannot think of anybody with more success because he can do it with the kids. Yeah. He can get people to the Olympic team. He can do it with the women. He can go over and do MMA. I really don't know what Izzy's secret sauce is. I would like to see him run a practice. I run a kids team. I'd like to see what he's doing.
I believe one thing about Izzy is he's got that voice. It just resonates. The way he breaks down moves, the way he explains things to you. As a warrior, it's a tone and it's a cadence that you're like, all right, whatever he says, I'm going to go do it. Whether it's a wall, a person, I'm trying to go through that. And he's got that kind of inspiration.
I was able to spend some time in Izzy's gym in Chicago doing some interviews. We interviewed Kennedy Blades, who we'll talk about a little bit later on. But she obviously trains with Izzy, and just being a fly on the wall, watching him run his kids program. He's intense, but he's intense in a positive way. He's intense in a way that motivates those kids. That's just my one takeaway.
You got to respect the voice in the room. Kids have their own idea of what might work. When he gives you an understanding of what you should be doing, there is no what might work. You just fall in the line to what everyone else is doing, and then you add your own little sauce to it. That's why he has so many different types of athletes that have been successful, but it doesn't change on what he's saying to them and how he's coaching them in that intense, environment.
And the other thing I noticed about Izzy is the connection with the wrestlers. Guys like Real Woods, for example. He's known most of these athletes, a lot of them since they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. He's close to their family.
When I met Real Woods, he was an 8th grader, and he was with Izzy at a weigh-in for some kind of fight, But I remember when I met him, there was something about Real. There was something about the way he said hello. He was a real gentleman. He looked you in the eye. But he was only 14 years old, and you could feel I'm with a winner right now.
Yeah, the maturity.
Yep.
A lot of those guys get that maturity in that room. There's something about learning how to be the hammer, learning how to be the nail, not always being the hammer, not always being the nail, but something about learning that gives you that mature and respect that, I think Izzy calls for it as his classes and his team.
So let's back up just a little bit. Amateur wrestling, first experience. How old were you?
9.
9 years old. You got a late start, right?
Yeah, I did. Honestly, I did. My father had passed away. That's really why I got into it. And I thought I was signing up, to be totally honest with you, I thought I was signing up for WWE. I thought I was going to come off the top ropes. I was going into it thinking that I was going to be able to suplex and really do some things. And it wasn't that. So my first wrestling was a shock to being like, where are the ropes at? What are these singlets? So that was my first understanding of it.
Bubba, I got pinned and I kicked out. I was trying to kick out. And referee hit the mat one time. And I was 8 years old, and I got up and argued. I said it was a 1 count. He didn't go to 3, and I'm trying to tell my father he gave me a 1 count.
Yep.
Because I also thought it was professional wrestling.
That's the biggest thing out, especially
Sure.
when my time was coming out and I was being an athlete. They were like, what do you want to do? You know, I was a statistic at that time. 13 straight days, 2 weeks, straight fights. So my mom was like, hey, what can we do with this guy? And the uncles were like, Pops was a wrestler, let's put him in wrestling.
How do we burn his energy? That's
Yeah.
what they were thinking. Who was your favorite wrestler, by the way, back then? When you were going to come in and... Sting was your favorite?
Sting was my favorite guy.
I never got over with Sting the way that other people did.
The mysteriousness the mysteriousness, I don't know. That was my guy. I had an iguana named Sting, so that's how much,
I had an enviness of Sting. I dreamed of being a professional wrestler, and I thought I would like that gimmick. I would like to be entertained. I would like to just stand up in the crowd and then get a shot at the main event. I had a jealousy of Sting.
And he didn't have many lines that you had to, he didn't have to play that character. He showed up, was a bad man, and kept it moving.
He made all that money. He just carried a baseball bat with a little face paint. I would look at him and go, that's the life. How do you get that deal?
And here's the best part of that character Steve Borden played, Sting, is he was in face paint from day one. Now, the advantage to that is you're making all that money, you've got the licensing, you've got the merchandising, but when that paint comes off,
they don't know you.
You can walk through the crowd, nobody knows who you are.
I know you.
Yeah. You guys, since you both kind of grew up and fans of professional wrestling, does it feel odd to you that Hulk Hogan initially, rest his soul, myself getting involved, to come from professional wrestling and throw ourselves into freestyle wrestling? Does it seem odd to you, or does it seem like a natural fit?
It feels like it's been a time waiting, like we've been waiting for this moment. The freestyle wrestlers, the guys on that level, we've been waiting for that stage, that excitement. And, I'm excited to be a part of something like this, but it doesn't feel odd. It feels natural. It feels like, man, where was this stage a long time ago? I have always thought to be an entertainer and an athlete, and that's always because of what I started out seeing in the WWE. Guys competing and guys really being the entertainment, the face, and all those.
Yeah, and Eric, to answer your question, yes, I was surprised. I had to refresh the page. I had to read it a few times. I saw you guys on Fox. I had to rewind and watch it again. Just, am I hearing them right? They're saying freestyle. They're saying the Olympic sport of freestyle wrestling. We have such incredible stories, by the way. And I know that you're a master of telling stories, but I mean, you are going to leave here very pleased. And Bubba and I are going to get into some of those in a minute. But there has been struggles from these young men and women. And they've all come out of the woodwork. As soon as you guys announced the best wrestlers in the world that could wrestle anywhere in the world, all raised their hand and said, I want an opportunity to do that.
It's been exciting, and I'm grateful, because I was a little nervous at first. Not nervous is the right word, but I was aware that, professional wrestling is great entertainment. We all grew up loving it, but guys like you that have spent basically your whole life, training, competing, making a name for yourself, I wasn't sure how that amateur wrestling community was going to embrace two guys from professional wrestling coming in and turning things upside down. So I'm glad that there's the support.
Yeah, and I think what happened in the Olympics a couple years ago with them losing it and then us having to get it back, I think it shocked the wrestling world of, we've been here since the Greco days, so you mean you're taking us out? And that really got a camaraderie behind the community saying, okay, we need to do something. We got to be looking for something. Boxing's dying and these other sports are doing their thing. What is wrestling going to do? And I believe this is a shot in the heart for them.
You mentioned the Ultimate Fighter a little while ago. That was a pivot point, at least in my opinion, for UFC, because it seems like they were struggling for the most part. I've read the amount of money that was lost over a number of years, but it seemed like the Ultimate Fighter was the platform that allowed the audience to get to know the athletes.
Yes.
Beyond just what they see in the ring.
The sacrifice is really remarkable that a wrestler will go through. I mean, their life is not a wonderful thing. Like, a lot of wrestlers don't go to prom, for example, because they were at a wrestling tournament. They don't go to a party because they were never invited to a party because they were at wrestling practice. I remember living that life, Bubba. It was 5 days a week of practice. tournaments on Saturday, you rested on Sunday just so you could get up and do it again. I didn't know anything about parties and having this great time. My friends didn't even tell me. They excluded me.
Absolutely. The party was when you got your hand raised, and that was about it. You know, Coach said, good job, let's go get some ice cream.
Yeah, you get to go to McDonald's and get a milkshake.
And we're back at it the next day, the next morning. And, you know, the absolute freedom that these guys will get from having a season like this, you know, something where it's not so mundane and hard on, you know, because the wrestling world, like you said, they come from this hard, grinding background. And to give them what I believe is life and a season and a stage, I believe you'll see not only the backgrounds peek out in their performances, but how tough they are and the stage that's going to give them.
And we skipped right over your early wrestling career. How old were you when you started?
I started at 8 years old. I entered a tournament that nobody else entered, so I won the medal. I went to kindergarten show and tell and held it up and said, this is the medal I got for not wrestling. And then when I finally did find somebody, that's when I pulled the kick out move. Remember how you could put your a limb outside the ring and that would stop the count? So I did that one time too. I grabbed the edge of the mat and pulled, and they cautioned me. They cautioned me and gave the other guy a point. I said, do you guys not watch? You guys not know what Monday nights are?
Those refs want you to wrestle nowadays. There's none of that. They want you on there, and I'm sure, you know, RAF is going to bring that kind of intensity. Ain't no running, ain't no, you know, pulling these tricks. We're going to get into the action. That's what I'm excited to see.
Did I ever tell you I went to the power plant? I went through the tryout.
Oh, that's right. I heard this story and I feel so bad about it.
It was so incredibly difficult. And I was an All-American. So I was just 2 months removed from being an All-American. I was in great shape, that's my point. We get there, there's 17 guys there, Sarge is running it, and it was very much like the Navy SEAL code, which is when you've had enough, just get your stuff and go. That's it. You don't even have to say goodbye.
Last man on.
Yeah, but when you walk out, you're not coming back. And it was a 3-day thing. Of the 17 guys, 3 of us showed up the second day. All 3 made it to the final day. 1 guy didn't show up. His body was so sore, and I knew all about that. I was calling home to my mom, and she had me like laying in Epsom salts, and none of it worked. Yeah. Spent the whole night trying to recover. This was so difficult, and the thing I remember most, all we had to do was push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. That's it. 25, 25, 25, and it went for hours. But when we did the squats, we had to throw our hands up, come onto our toes, and there was a 5-gallon bucket behind us. You couldn't stop till you hit the bucket. Well, because you don't know where the bucket is, the thing I remember the most is it was cutting into my legs. It was bleeding under my leg because I kept sitting on this damn bucket, but that's all we had to do. The final day took us outside to do some sprints in the Georgia heat, but
that must have been pleasant.
It broke everybody, and I was right on the edge when time ran out. I mean, this was really a difficult thing.
Discipline is a word that you brought up, and I think that's the one word that I take away. And I wrestled in high school. I was never very good. I was pretty average, but I liked the contact, so I just kept going back. So I had a little insight, but I've never been around elite level athletes, your caliber. Boy, did I notice a difference in the discipline. You know, the guys that don't get invited to the party, that just grind and grind and grind, they're the ones that reach that level. And I see that and hear that in so many of the athletes that we talked to so far.
It's a tough life. It really is. And, you know, take a football player just for example, but they got 50,000 people cheering for them. You know, there's this big payoff. And to get the wrestler to choose that life of discipline, it's really a remarkable thing. A wrestler is a very interesting mindset, generally a very honorable person. You will not meet very many wrestlers and come away and go, I can't trust him, or I didn't like him. It's kind of the opposite in our community.
I've noticed that. Man, we got done interviewing Real Wiz, and I said, dude, I know you've got 2 families. You got one in Albuquerque, you got one in Chicago. How'd you like one in Cody, Wyoming? Yeah. We're going to adopt him and bring him home.
Real Woods, did he get a degree from Stanford?
Yeah.
He went there, yeah. Yeah, he's a winner.
Yeah, and then went to Iowa and got the recognition you need as a wrestler to stamp you as a validated wrestler, you know.
Were you surprised when he made the team this year, the world team?
I was. There's a lot of good guys in his weight class, but, you know, Real Woods is the real deal.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see Caldwell accept that matchup. You know, Caldwell's been out of the game for a little bit. Me, a dog like myself, I would have definitely been excited to sign a contract, but the Real Woods would have gave me a little pause for cause because he just made the team. He just did all these things. He's in the throes of all the things he wants to do.
What would have you said had they offered it to you? Because Lance Palmer's going to come after you, for sure.
They called me about Lance, and, you know,
You look good.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I feel good. Yeah, I'm training. I got my sons coming up and things like that. I could dust it off a little bit. I could. I would have said yes to a lot of names, but I'm thinking more into the broadcasting side of things.
You say that now, but we'll see what happens after August 30th, right?
After the first night, after Cleveland, we're going to see, because that excitement from seeing these guys and the praise they get, you always want that glory. And as a champion and as a wrestler, someone who is doing that, I of course want that. But I'm enjoying the seat that I'm sitting in right now. The workout to getting here wasn't as tough.
Didn't have to cut weight.
Right.
Everything was a lot easier.
That's right.
You know, it's a fun thing, and I know we're going to talk about the various matches that we have on the card, a little bit later on, but we're talking about Darion and Real. The storyline I like there, young gunslinger, old seasoned gunslinger. It's like always got that one young guy that's coming after you. And I think Darion's, the way he came off to me, and he was super legit to me, man. He wants to make a point.
Listen, Caldwell's legit, and the thing that we love, I'm from the era that he's from, we love being, not the guy on the biggest stage.
You want to be the underdog.
That's the stage we love to have. He had the Metcalf match. I had the David Taylor match. When you put us in those kind of, we don't think you can do it. And that's probably why he signed the contract. As I'm thinking about it now, as I'm looking at who Caldwell is, it's probably like, oh, you don't think I can get this guy? Because he's doing his thing right now. All right, you know what? Let me show you guys. And that's probably why he gave you
He's
that
got an
information.
enormous amount of confidence.
Oh, yeah.
And he believes in himself. I'm looking forward to that match. As an old guy myself, I got to put the money on the old guy.
A very incredible analysis that you just gave. Because if you would have asked me, I would put Caldwell and you in the same category, which is the harder the match, the bigger the they're going to rise to it. You want to get these guys, get them in the quarterfinals, get them in the semis. You run into them in a championship match, you're going to have big problems.
Golden.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how I see Caldwell. A lot of people were surprised he accepted this match. I never seen him back down. Yeah. I've never seen Caldwell back down ever. I've been in the practice room with him. I've never seen him flinch from a competition.
And he's still going. The thing about us long-toothed guys, you might not see us out there on the big screen, but we're in the background just giving it to the guys, giving them learning, giving them the golden nuggets that we've dug up on the way. The art of becoming a great wrestler teaches you how to have that respect that you value as a man.
Coming from the world that I've come from, professional wrestling, where everybody's over the top, everybody's trash talking everybody. It comes so naturally that it's sometimes difficult for professional wrestlers to function well outside of the arena, right? But the challenge we have is there's so much respect that it's a little tough to get people to talk some smack.
Thank you.
It's like, come on, people.
Do that.
I think they'll figure it out.
We've evolved. The UFC has helped. That Conor wave was different. What he did on the mic definitely changed the perspective of a lot of athletes' views. Instead of the old school way of winning the match, getting your hand raised, skipping out on a party, and being at the practice the next day. We've evolved from it because we've lost the Olympics and we got the bid back and things like that. So people want to see a little bravado, a little walk, a little cachet, and that's what I think, this stage gives us.
But I do see a little bit of a problem there, because in wrestling, we shake hands and we walk away. Anything more than that, one single word is so frowned upon. But then to Eric's point, then you're going to get the guy that wants the camera and he's going to ham it up, but he's not quite being himself. It's like, okay, guys, just be yourself. Do what we're doing right now.
I was before my time.
Just tell the story.
I got booed so many times. I started setting my alarm clocks to the boo birds. The audio of the boos that I used to get, I started waking up to it. Because I'm from Virginia. Come on, guy. I'm Allen Iverson, Michael Vick. I'm an athlete that happens to wrestle. And if I jumped over a takedown, I'm going to do a little dance and let you know it. And I was booed. I won nationals in Philadelphia, where I was a Penn State guide, and I was booed off the national stage because of my excitement, because of how I celebrate. I did the LeBron James celebration in the semifinals. I was always trying to be myself while also winning the match, and it was just frowned upon at that time.
And I think some of the younger wrestlers, to your point, because it's been drilled into them since they were 5 or 9 or 8 years old, to be so respectful, I think they're going to see guys like you, who are led by example. You've gone out there and you've done it. I get the impression Real Woods is going to come out of his shell quite a bit. He's got the personality.
Caldwell ain't going to let him just do his thing. Caldwell's going to compete with them in entertainment as well.
To your point, though, it's got to be real. It's got to be authentic. You can't go out there and pretend you're Conor McGregor or pretend you're a professional wrestler. It's got to come from here, and I think that's just a level of comfort.
Have you ever seen a Yanni interview, just for example? I can't turn away. I just think, I think he speaks in like an interesting way, and it's even like a little bit nerdy. But I like it. He went to Cornell. He is a nerdy guy. Yeah. I love when Yanni starts telling stories, or growing up with Vito, or Vito's dad was a world champion and came over from Russia and used to train him in the garage. That's the good stuff. And I do worry that guys are going to do something to be unauthentic. Like you and I, they think it's pro wrestling, right? You're trying to suplex guys, and I'm trying to kick out of a pinfall. It's like, no.
Go back to your roots.
Yeah, don't get lost here. We're doing freestyle wrestling, but for a brand new change, we're going to have a producer that brings in some cameras. It's as simple as that. I'm hoping.
Yeah, we'll capture the right things. And I think the thing about wrestling that gives audiences what they want to see is the winning aspect. They're down by 2 with a couple seconds left. We're going to see the excitement, and from those wins and those moments, I think we'll get a lot of celebration.
Rumor has it that Izzy Martinez is working on an incentive program. That it's freestyle rules. Nobody's going to mess with the rules, but we are going to include incentives for a more dramatic offense, for example. You know, belly to back suplex is going to pay money.
Sure.
So we'll get everybody there. One way or the other, we'll get them there.
Love it.
How important is, I'll call it amateur wrestling, freestyle wrestling, how important is that, in your opinions, for MMA?
I say it's the leading base, and I could make a pretty good argument. Wrestling as a whole has not been completely dominant. That's how it's viewed, but it's not totally true. It's American wrestlers. And the reason for that is we have the collegiate and the NCAA system, where if you are being held down against your will, you must get up and get free, and meanwhile, you must hold somebody down against their will. That is really what separates the difference. That also changes the conditioning, but it's really the American wrestlers that have excelled, in my experience, in MMA.
Absolutely. Freestyle, I believe, is where a lot of the athletes are in wrestling. But when you come to American style of wrestling, when you come to the folk style, that's where I would say the dominant wrestlers are. You don't have to be an athlete. You have to be a wrestler. You have to know top, bottom. You have to keep someone down, like he said, get out. And I believe in mixed martial arts, that style, the folk style, the American style of wrestling, is the more dominant style of all the martial arts. And in fighting, when you are doing your thing striking, you have to know how to get away from guys that want to take you down. And if you can wrestle, you can dominate.
How tough is it to make the transition, for example, from folk style, high school, college, into freestyle? Because the scoring's different, right? I mean,
The scoring's different. The college guys seem to be doing so well, though. The guys that are training that collegiate, I argue that it's probably a conditioning issue. And so to your point, it's not overly difficult. Don't go to your back. Take the guy down more times than he takes you down.
Right.
There are exceptions to that rule, but largely, if you take him down more times than he takes you down, you're going to win the match.
It's not a hard difference. It's minor. It's like going from tackle football to flag football. Most things are still the same. You're just not as physical. In wrestling, you are, but there's just minor differences, and you can see that jump happen. It's not. You gotta, not get pushed out. So you got to hand fight a little bit differently. Takedowns were a little bit different in the beginning, because when we were getting takedowns, they were 1 points. Now takedowns are different. So, our generation of wrestling, the transition was easier, and the American guys have just attached to it.
Transitioning from amateur wrestling, freestyle, folk, whatever, into MMA, you spent most of your life on the mat, grinding, taking people down, trying not to get taken down and staying off your back. Get into an MMA ring, now you guys got guys trying to kick you in the face. Yeah. Punch you in the head.
Big difference.
What is that transition like? What was it like for you first?
It was difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you. Everyone wants to tell you, oh, you can jump right into it. It was difficult. It was like the first time driving. It was, I gotta worry about this. I gotta put my seatbelt on. Gotta worry about this guy on the left. Gotta worry about that. Gotta watch my here. Gotta drive. Push the gas. Where's the brake? It was a lot of things that I had to add to something that was just a normality for me. Wrestling was wrestling. Now, don't take the shot when he's doing this, or watch out for the knees, or have your hands here. It was just adding on. Once I finally got the nuances of it, being a wrestler helped me.
Sure.
But in the beginning, it was
How long did that take before you got comfortable, do you think?
I would say it took 2 years.
That makes sense.
I would say that I was not even talking trash and being who I was. Leaving college and who I came into MMA, I don't say that I had the same bravado, because so many of those days leading up to my first fight, I was a nail. coming into that moment, I was hammer. I'm Bubba Jenkins. I'm the top prospect. And then getting ready for my first fight down at ATT with Dustin Poirier, Masvidal, all those guys, I was the nail on top of the nail on top of the nail.
Those are some big names too, my friend.
And I could name a bunch of them at ATT at that time. But just learning, it humbled me. So I didn't go into my first fight thinking I'm this bad old guy. I wasn't the bad man then, right? I was the highlight kid, and I was just trying to get my moves off and get a little glory from it, right? But the mindset that it took to get me prepared for that really humbled me. So I didn't go in there with this big bravado as I would have being a wrestler.
How about you? How tough was it for you?
Yeah, and well, wrestling is for sure the base still for martial arts, and it's not just the techniques; it's understanding to walk in front of the world, to have very little clothes on, to put whatever ego and reputation, whatever it was you said, and now you're going to prove it one-on-one. And I feel like that was one of the bigger advantages for wrestlers. For me personally, I knew where to catch my breath in a wrestling match. I knew how to get to a 2-on-1. I knew to get to single and just stay on my knees till the referee broke it. I tried to do that in MMA, and I never found that spot. I fought for 22 years, and I never found that spot to get that breather if you needed it, because instead of scoring points, the guy's trying to do damage. Just a little bit different approach.
Absolutely.
So, Chael, when you transitioned, I'm sure it took you a while to get used to people throwing punches and kicks at your head, but did you train differently? Did you train with a boxing coach? How did you train for your hands?
I did. So I had my first fight in 1997. And so to put that in perspective, everybody trained the same way, which is you had some kind of a base. Now that might be football, it might be, but you came from some kind of athletics. Then you would try to find guys around town that were maybe doing a boxing workout once a week. A lot of guys were working submissions off of VHS or DVDs.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they would go in their living room with a friend or a neighbor. And as unorganized as that is, that's what it was. So if you ended up with a fight, that's the same thing that your opponent did. And I only share with you, I look back at that now and go, wow, I think there were so many better ways to train, and we could have got there a little bit faster. But I trained, just to name drop, with Randy Couture every day. And we would show up to practice, and there'd be 4 or 5 of us, and then we would take a vote. Every day, Randy would say, big gloves or little gloves. And whatever the vote was, that's what we put on, and then we went and fought. That was it. We would do 5 hard rounds, and we would go home. There was no drills, there was no training, there was no conditioning. It wasn't a formal practice. So Randy got beat. He lost to Josh Barnett, and he gets us all together and says, we're not doing this anymore. We're running this the same way as we ran wrestling practices. We're going to have structure. We're going to warm up together. We're going to have a drill session. We're going to have a coach. We didn't even have a coach back then. When
wow.
Randy would walk to the cage to fight, and it would be his buddies that go, hey man, can I corner you? It was things like this. And he went all the way to a world championship. So I only share with you, as unorganized as that was, that's how it was.
Amazing. How
Weird.
would you do it differently today?
Well, and I think about that a lot, Eric, because I have a son, and I don't know if he'll go that path, but if he does, I would like to save him some hardships. And the MMA now is its own sport. We're seeing this crew come out of Dagestan, and they had no background. They had no wrestling matches or sambo or judo.
Really?
Their first day was MMA. The name of the facility was MMA. When I was coming through, MMA was a term, but people didn't really know what it meant. It wasn't even an accepted term. My only point for that is, wherever you went, you could not meet a guy that says, I'm an MMA coach. There was no such thing. You could not go to an MMA gym. You could go to a gym that might have an MMA practice a couple of times a week, but it was very different. You would box over here, and you would submissions over here, and you would strength conditioning here. You get together 2 or 3 times a year on a Saturday and try to compete against a guy doing the same thing. So I only share that with my son, it would be a little bit more well-rounded. He kind of started in with everything, more comprehensive. The school systems here in America are very good with the wrestling programs. So I believe that he'll come up through that, but if I was to give my best advice, which I feel like I would give my best advice to my son, it would be more comprehensive.
That's a good point you brought up, and I want to ask you about it. The high school wrestling programs. We hope at Real American Freestyle that by having this sport, a legitimate league up and running and high visibility, great production values, elite athletes, we're hoping that it fuels the interest in amateur wrestling. It makes sense that it would, but What's your opinion? You think having a platform like this is going to encourage growth of the sport?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because one of the biggest things that made a lot of guys go into mixed martial arts, not saying that mixed martial arts stole us, but that it was either the Olympics or that was our professional sport. Coming up, it was, okay, at the end of your high school career, what are you going to do? And if you weren't good enough to go to college, that was it. And say you got to go to college, at the end of college, okay, now you've done all these years of college, now you're a national finalist and All-American, and you're the best in this country for, what are you gonna do now? It's either be an assistant coach or head coach. There wasn't really many options. When mixed martial arts came around, we took that wrestling talent and that notoriety and that type of mindset, and we're like, okay, this is somewhere we can go with it. Of course, there was the freestyle wrestling, but a lot of those guys, when we're done with college, we're done with wrestling. So it's not just being done with freestyle, it's done with getting in the stands, cutting the weight, hand fighting and those things. Your body starts to get, it's a young man's sport, right? I believe Real American Freestyle will help that amateur level really see that, man, if you get to those great heights that we used to get to in college, you have those pros, you can get drafted, those things are possible with the pro leagues.
Yeah, what Bubba's speaking about, by the way, is opportunity. There isn't any in wrestling. Dan Gable himself came out and told them, if you're going to cut any more weights for Olympics, stop. I don't want to coach it if only 4 or 5 guys every 4 years can even have a chance to compete. This is changing that. Now a young kid can see this, and he can have a dream. He can tell his dad, this is what I want to do. He can tell his mom, this is what I want to do. I just share it's very different. I never had those opportunities, and so I fantasize. I could only imagine being in college, seeing the finish line near, not knowing what I was going to do next, not to mention you've got this tremendous skill set you worked your whole life for, and you know where to showcase it. And that's really, if there's anything that I am most proud or excited for Real American Freestyle doing, it's providing an opportunity.
And providing an opportunity for women and young girls, because that's one of the fastest growing segments in amateur wrestling right now. And you look at Sarah, of course, gold medal winner in the Olympics, Kennedy Blades. I just see so much for her because she's a star waiting to be discovered.
She's a star.
I refer to her as Beauty in the Beast because she's such a beautiful young woman. She's so poised. She's 22 going on 42 in terms of the way she carries herself, but she's a beast. She just loves to get in it.
Yeah, and she's been prepared for this moment and taught right. That's why he said she's 22 going on 42. It's the maturity of the coach being on you and grabbing you and saying, hey, do this. And even in celebration, I had a great coach. If I came off the mat and celebrated a little too much for, the wrong cause, even in that entertainment side, my coach was like, hey, you think you did great? You think you should celebrate it? It was times that kind of kept you in there. Yeah, I was entertainment, but there was that thin line of being entertainment and having that respect and crossing it.
And Kitty came up just short. She ended up with the Olympic silver medal. She was very young, but she had all this promise and poise, and she had a dream, but Eric, she doesn't really have anywhere to compete. There's not a lot of places to compete. You get 2 or 3 opportunities a year. You got to raise the money to get on a plane to fly over to Bulgaria, just for example, to go into a high school gymnasium where nobody even documents it. You get a fan like me that's going on Twitter and trying to refresh, and maybe you get the results, and maybe you don't. Even if you do, they're not always accurate. Like, it's a very big deal to be able to stay domestic, to bring the competition here, to walk out there one-on-one after a weigh-in, to shake hands with somebody with the lights on. It's a tremendous deal, and it's a very hard thing to find. Competitions are a very hard thing to find for the elite level until now.
Outstanding. Well, conspicuous by his absence, Kurt Angle, the 3rd member of the broadcast team with you guys. That just happened. We talked to Kurt early on when we first started developing this idea, and it didn't quite click for everybody at that time, but got reconnected with Kurt, and I'm really happy to have him on board. What's your take on Kurt Angle?
Man, he's an icon. Oh man, being the wrestler from the WWE world and having that real Olympic championship, the wrestling background to go to the WWE world, he was the new guy for me when Sting, I was like, okay, Sting's in it, but this Kurt guy with that suplex and being a real wrestler.
Yeah, no, he's one of us. Right?
He's one of us, and I had to fight during school to decipher, are you a WWE wrestler or are you one of these, Olympic wrestlers? And I was able to, with Kurt Angle being the guy, I was like, I'm one of the Kurt Angle guys, but I love this WWE stuff. And that was just my representation. He was the guy in the biggest picture of a wrestler from my background hope of being.
Before Kurt got into wrestling, he wanted to get into TV. He wanted to get into broadcasting, be a sports guy. Somebody gave him an opportunity. They had cue cards at that time. So it says, back to you, Kurt. And then it's got the thing that Kurt reads. Kurt's read that out loud. He goes, back to you, Kurt. And now we're over. He really did this. So the reason I tell you that, he wasn't a natural. And I think that Kurt might be one of these great guys from a mentor, from a coaching standpoint, to grab a hold of these guys, to let them know, here's how you're going to do this. You don't have to play it up. You don't have to put on a fancy robe. That's not what we're doing here. We're just showcasing who you are. And I feel like as I watched Kurt make those transitions into one of the world's great entertainers, it wasn't natural for him. He had somebody that guided him. And I really see that as an opportunity. Our biggest opportunity, I think, with Kurt is to maybe talk to some of these young athletes and tell them how to conduct some of those things.
Because he can relate to them.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for some of these young wrestlers to relate to a Kurt Angle than it is to me or to a director or a producer that doesn't have the background. It's just a different level of communication.
Back to you, Kurt.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. So we're gonna be tagging Kurt in for extracurricular duties after the show and before the show. But he does like to teach too.
And I'm going to be picking his brain. You know, Kurt, like you say, he loves to teach. And, you know, us wrestlers who have been in it, we love to give back to it. So him coming back to the game and seeing them try to do the thing that he did, I'm sure he's going to be there. Many questions that I'm going to be asking him, getting all kinds of answers.
Well, what a fantasy for Kurt. Like, we never would have seen him in pro wrestling had this existed. This is exactly what he would have gone to. He would have stayed in wrestling had there been an opportunity. So, yeah, I imagine, like us, there's probably some envy. You're probably looking at these guys going, this is awesome.
Back in my day, if I would have,
That's right, that's right.
They would have had this. My uncle says that about UFC all the time. If they would have had this in my day, all right, Uncle, I got it. I got you.
Live that dream. Live that dream.
You'd still be the man.
So let's talk about the card a little bit. Got a couple matches. I want you guys to break them down. You guys are the experts. Share a little bit of your knowledge and smarten us up, as they would say in the professional wrestling business. Take Bo Nickel. What's your take on Bo Nickel? What's his strengths? What's his, I don't know if he's got a weakness, but.
Yeah. What I would say about Bo Nickel, his strength is between his ears, his mindset, his mentality, who he is, who he has been at Penn State. I think he's going to come into this, like he was saying, with a little bit of a target on his back, but because he hasn't been on the mat like a wrestler, like an all-time wrestler, I'm excited about what it's going to be to come back. He probably lost a little bit, you know, as we get into standing up and not getting so much of a stance. You know, we lose a little bit of those instincts, you know, just by seeing punches more and not shots. But, you know, I'm excited to see what Bo brings to it because he's been an all-time great. He has that eyes, he has that history. And, you know, coming back to the stage that is now RAF, I think he's going to bring something.
Nick, what do you think on
All
Nick?
right. So here's the thing with Nick versus Bo. And Bo does have a massive target. He's going to be viewed as an opportunity and for somebody to build a name. Bo is not at a wrestling match in 4 years. Other perspective, Bo hasn't lost a wrestling match in 4 years. All right, that's great news. Cardenas, just for example, in the last 8 months had 34 matches. And I do think there's something to be said for those reps. I also think there's something to be said for the conditioning. And one thing that Cardenas did not have was his highest level of success. He was not an NCAA champion. He did not win the U.S. Open. Well, the next best thing is beat a guy who did. This is his opportunity to beat a guy who did it 3 times. I think Cardenas is in a very good spot right here. I think that Bo believes the matchmaking was in his favor. But I'll tell you when this match goes off, I will predict Bo is not the favorite.
So if you were Nick's coach, how would you coach him? What would you tell him to do?
He's got to put the pressure on him. He's got to put the pressure on him and just remind him this is a different level of conditioning. Getting down, bending your knees, and moving in that stance, as simple as that might sound, it's not. It's not if you're not ready to do that. And the posture for MMA alone is very different. The level of attacks, what Bo's ready to defend, how Bo plans to score, which is probably get on top and use a little bit of funk. I think if Bo got on top, he can have some good success. I'm not convinced he can take a young man down that just had 34 men try to take him down all season long.
Yeah. And I would tell Bo to get in his groove of things, you know, get back to the swing of things how you used to do it. Take your time. You know, a lot of these guys get in here and they try to dominate the way they used to dominate. Like he said, it's been a while. Take your time, feel it out. Wrestling will happen for you. The wrestling instincts will come back. Of course, the camp has prepared him for these times, but just take your time and be yourself because who you've been in wrestling is going to be who we need to be that night.
All right, next up, Yanni D, because I'm not even going to go near that last
Me neither.
name.
You and me both, buddy. We're just going to stay with Yanni D. A legend, icon from Cornell. He's done the unthinkable with what he's done at Cornell, following up with Kyle Dake, who's also on the card. But Yanni, I think his creativity is what's going to keep him in this match. This is a rematch, as we was talking earlier, but Yanni got it done the first time, and just being creative, sticking to his guns, I think he'll get the job done again.
Bajrang.
All right, well, let's talk about this rematch, because the first match, they put all sorts of points on the board. It was 8-7. It was the last minute, but it was also in America, and Bajrang wasn't living here at that time. So he had some travel. He had some things against him. He's got a whole crowd against him. This match goes down in New York, which is Yanni's backyard, and that little motivation, I felt, really pushed Yanni to the end. Now, what Bajrang needs to understand, if it's a 6-minute wrestling match, Yanni's going to wrestle for 6 minutes. Bajrang decided to wrestle for 5 minutes and 50 seconds, and there's a big difference there. But we're still talking about 1 point. One score, one move, one push out, one tilt changes this match. And a lot of times where you would look at Yanni as the favorite, and he just might be, but the motivation actually goes to the guy that came up short. This is the match. I was very surprised to get this signed. I was very surprised that Yanni accepted it, because he is up against so much, but that's fair play. If a guy comes out and gives you a match, you got to give him one back.
Not only that, you can see that I believe that guy signed this because he's hungry. You know, everybody wants to go after the big dog, and when Yanni gets you in his backyard, you want that opportunity again. And this is not that far from Yanni's backyard, but still, there's an opportunity to get that get back.
Next up on the card, Nathan Tomasello versus Matt Ramos. Nathan.
Right, Ramos. I got Ramos being a very good underdog. He's a Purdue guy, big, tall for his weight class, and he's hungry. He's upset some guys in the past, and I think that this stage is going to bode well for a lot of the underdogs on the card, because this is something that a lot of the guys like the Bo Nichols, they've had those big stages. They've almost gone on to go to other careers, and those guys who just didn't get the championships, the NCAAs or those Olympics, they're still hungry. They're still wanting after what the sport of wrestling still has. And I think this stage gives them that, so they give that opportunity.
All right, history favors the younger guy in wrestling for Ramos. But Tomasello's different, man. This is a whole different animal. This guy has been a winner when he was a cadet, when he was a junior. He's the NCAA champion in college. He's pursuing Olympic dreams, of which he came up a little bit short. Like, Tomasello is a very hungry guy. I got to speak with him. And he was thinking of switching his career to Greco-Roman. And I was a big supporter of that, but the Greco-Roman program didn't know if he had enough time, and Freestyle and Zadok got involved, and they kept him in Freestyle. But one thing about Tomasello, he's a wrestler. He loves it. This is all he knows. This guy, we talk about sacrifice, or we talk about not going to parties, or we talk about, living the right life. It's Tomasello. That's the guy. He measures his food before he eats it. His body looks like he's carved out of stone, but he worked hard for that build. And while I do understand that Ramos will be looked at pretty fondly here, Tomasello's not the guy you overlook.
No, sir. And he's in his backyard. He's an Ohio guy, Ohio State boy.
And by the way, we haven't even talked about this, but I don't think anything like this has ever happened before. We're going to be crowning 10 first-time world champions in each one of these weight classes. So hopefully there's a little motivation to walk out of there with that belt.
Absolutely.
I did not realize these were championship matches. I knew that the last one was. I thought just Dake was in the championship match. These are all championship
We're
matches.
Establishing champions
that's
in
incredible.
each one of the divisions.
Oh, you have to.
That's new. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere.
We wanted to come out big.
And then we can get rankings going, though. Then we can get rankings. Then we can get controversy. Then we get guys like you and me that influence the rankings. But, and that's going to upset people.
I'm going to start looking at those rankings and, you know what, I think I can get it. Maybe a cap or two here and get me in a championship.
All right, one that I think a lot of people are looking forward to, Austin Gomez, Lance Palmer. What's your take on Austin?
Well, I'm going to go with Lance Palmer. That's my guy, good friend of mine. We're same birthday, same everything. We shared the cage together. We fought together, bled together. I'm going with Palmer on he's from my generation, so I want him to win.
I didn't know that. I actually thought there was heat with you and Palmer. You guys fought, if I'm remembering correctly. You beat him, if I'm remembering correctly. That was a year or so ago.
And I've beaten him 6 times in the matches.
Yeah, I did not know that. But you guys formed a bond. That's very cool.
Because we got the same birthday.
Sure.
Yeah, cut from the same cloth, baby. We got to know each other.
Gomez is a very interesting one. He started his career at Iowa State, and he started as like a 125-pounder. He leaves and goes over to Michigan with Sean Bormet. They get him up to 41 pounds. He ends up being a national finalist. But one thing about Gomez is he can scramble and he can hustle and he has big dreams. He represents his country at the World Championships, but he does his training in Ann Arbor. And Gomez is really just getting started. He will be a senior level wrestler. He not only will go through the 28 Olympic Games cycle, he will stick around till the 2032 Olympic style. So Gomez, with being as hungry as he is, I think is going to be a lot to deal with for Palmer. I think Palmer's going to be surprised. I think he's getting into something that maybe is more difficult than he's aware.
Absolutely, but one thing about Palmer is he is pound for pound one of the strongest men I've ever met. Not just wrestled, but ever met. Shook his hand like, man, Palmer, you're extremely strong. And the thing about him is, at that weight class, he can slow the match down. I mean, it's a freestyle. I think he, with him having a little bit grayer in the beard, he can slow it down, tie him up, be strong, grab Gomez, who's a little bit smaller for the weight class, and really kind of impose his will on him with his size.
You're legitimately picking Palmer to win this match, or you're cheering for Palmer to win the match?
I'm cheering for Palmer to win this match.
There we go.
Because you're seeing the greatness out of Gomez, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
on any given
absolutely.
day.
But I'm hoping that Palmer can slow it down. Okay, I'm hoping that Palmer can do some of the old tricks of just being a vet in the game, seeing where we are, give some underhooks in there, maybe run him out of bounds with some underhooks in his strength, and slow it down and give us older guys a one for that one.
Yeah, no, that's inspiring. I agree with you. We'll see how that goes.
Kennedy Blades and Alejandra Rivera. Kennedy Blades, what's your take on Kennedy?
I'm looking for that suplex. That's all I
We all are, my man.
I'm excited. No, and a lot of people have not seen her game. I've not seen how she gets to those points. So I'm excited for the world to see her takedowns and how smooth and fluent she is, how aggressive she is, and then how she dominates when she gets out there. You'll see someone going to their crafts and going to the things that they know, like they're making a sandwich. One thing after the other, very methodically, and then it's time to eat.
Nothing will make a wrestler or an athlete fall apart more, mentally fall apart, than when they find themselves in a match harder than they thought it was going to be. And I'm telling you, Alejandra's going to show up ready to wrestle. Listen, she's got Olympic aspirations. She understands she's not changing weight classes when Olympics come around. She's going head to head with Kennedy Blades. So this is foreshadowing, this is preparation, but Kennedy, as of right now, is in Alejandra's way of reaching her ultimate goal. And I just think taking this match showed a lot of bravery, though I wasn't surprised. And if Kennedy does go out there and she tries to find those big moves, and she's been a highlight reel, and everybody's loved them lately, but if you start looking for those big moves and you stay away, look, I need a point here, I need a push out here. If you get away from that, Alejandra will catch you in a lateral. She'll go get 3 points. She'll get ahead. She's going to be a problem if Kennedy doesn't come out and wrestle sound.
Boy, it sounds like a chess match.
And like you said, she's not changing her weight class. So the more time she gets at Kennedy Blades, the more time she gets to see her, the more confidence she's going to gain. So she's going to go into this throwing a kitchen sink at her, trying to get some from it.
You would have put some money on this match. I don't know who I'm going to put it on yet. The only thing that makes me wonder about Kennedy is, she's legs like from the ground to her earlobes. Is that tough for her to defend?
It makes them harder as far as to score on, because it's like a tarantula. They're just all everywhere. When you pick them up, they've still got toes on the mat. You're trying to put them on the ground. Their arms long enough to hold themselves up. It's just trying to take down a long table, a taller table, and it just becomes a little bit difficult. But because it takes them a longer time to get down, I feel like my speed always gave me that advantage to get to an ankle pick, to get to a smaller part of their body and capitalize on that. But Kennedy, she's fast too. So, as tall as she is, she's got that athletic ability to get back into the match.
And she's got an interesting stance. Like, she knows that she's got long legs and she got to try to get away low to the mat. And she kind of has that hunched over back. She keeps her hands down. Her head's right in the way. You very seldomly see her out of position. I haven't seen anybody exploit those long legs, even though you would think there'd be an opportunity to. I haven't seen it yet.
All right, next up on the card, Sarah Hildebrandt and Zelzin Hernandez.
I'm excited for Sarah. She's an Olympic champ. We haven't seen her since she's won the Olympics, and she's the crowd favorite. Everybody loves who she is and how she comes out and aggressive she is. I'm excited to see what she's going to do in the RAF.
Well, okay, so Sarah Hildebrandt was doing her training in Corvallis, Oregon, about 45 minutes from my house, and I called and I would check in. I would check in with Nate Engel and just say what's going on, and it seemed to me, the sense that I got is that Sarah was not sure she was going to wrestle again. She won that Olympic gold medal. The Olympic Games are coming to Los Angeles in 28. She's given a good look at that, but she wasn't sure. And I just wonder, is she training hard? All of a sudden, her coach, Nate Engel, has left. I don't know if you heard this. He took a job at the WCAP, so now he's in Colorado Springs as of 4 days ago. How serious is Sarah? Because one thing about it, when you win that Olympic championship, yes, there's a confidence that comes with it, but there's a target that comes with it. And when you deal with somebody as strong as Hernandez, you got to be in shape. You got to be moving your feet. Sarah Hildebrand is two different athletes. When she's moving her feet, she's hard to deal with. When she comes out there and plots, a lot of times they start to run her down. And I only share with you, Hernandez has the strength to get to some of those ankles and score some points and cause some problems. And
like you said, she can be too restless when she shows up because that coach not being in your corner, and I know Nate Engel, great coach, great speaker, and very influential. Him not being in the corner could definitely be a detriment to her.
Wow. I'm looking forward to this match. You guys make it sound pretty. And what I like about this kind of a conversation is someone like me gets to learn a little bit more about the strategy and what to look forward to in each one of the athletes. So I appreciate you sharing.
And one thing about this, Eric, it's kind of unique to the sport of wrestling, but when we have somebody in any other form of combat, whatever you got is on the line. In wrestling, it's not like that. If you win the Olympic championship, your next match doesn't cost you the gold medal, but this is an inaugural championship. That's the whole reason Hildebrand showed up. There's no belt, there's no Sarah Hildebrand, but she holds this organization and the potential to the same level as the Olympic Games. I think that was very respectful of Sarah Hildebrand.
Sinclair and Dake.
Yeah, I was supposed to take on Dake in Madison Square Garden. Thank God he got hurt and I end up having to take someone else on. But seeing Dake, he's so creative. He's so amazingly good with the 50-50 positions in wrestling. And with freestyle being what it's going to be, it's going to probably limit a little bit of the rolling and stuff that he used to do. But Kyle Dake's been a legend on the freestyle level, and he knows exactly what he's got to do. I think the other guy, being an underdog and having Ben Askren be his coach, is going to give him a little play.
Yeah, it's basic wrestling, which is what Kyle Dake does. Good, strong position. I see an opportunity. I take it, push the guy off the mat, come back to the middle. Strong as an ox. I worked out with him one time. His body did not feel like a normal human. No, he really had a density and he had the strength. Okay. But Sinclair's the funk. I mean, he's coming out of Ben Askren, right? Ben and Max Askren, they teach these guys a lot of Russian positions, a lot of situations you get into that Kyle Dake, as great as he is, will be new to him. Kyle Dake being the veteran, taking on a younger guy in Sinclair, it puts some pressure on Dake. One thing about Dake, which I should disclose, is my favorite wrestler. But one thing about Dake is he's just simply not big enough right now for this weight class. He's trying to grow into it. The last time he got on the scale, the weight class was 186 and he weighed 181. He was 5 pounds underweight when he weighed in to take on Valencia. Dake's coming up he was at 74. He skipped over 79. He's going to 86. Valencia's coming down from 92. I mean, just for example, Dake has got to learn to deal with some of that size and power, and he knows that. I think it's one of the reasons he took this match with Sinclair.
When Dake goes into it, if he gets into a tougher match with Sinclair than he's expecting, because Sinclair doesn't really have that big name or that big background, and he's got those 50-50 positions, a lot of places where Dake is creative, the Askrens are masters at, and coaching into those and out of those positions are where Sinclair is going to get his most points.
And it excites the Askrens as well. When they see a name like Kyle Dake, unlike most people where they get intimidated, they get excited for it, and they will strategize, and they will get out videos, and they will have a game plan. I'm very curious to see what it is.
Watch for the underdogs in this show.
Agreed.
On this show, the underdogs have a little bit of a laughter of, there's something we know that the rest of the world doesn't know. The guys going against the Bo Nickals, the guys going against the guys that are in it, doing it right now, who haven't been on the mat for a while. They got something up their sleeve, and I feel that. There's a sense in the air about it.
What's the upset of the night? Because there will be one.
Yeah. The upset of the night, I'm going Lance Palmer over Gomez.
Really? Wow. That's very good. And
I
think that Bo Nickals in a really hard spot, and I don't know that he knows it yet. I think that Bo Nickals in a tough spot. Just taking on a guy that's had 34 matches when you haven't had a match in 4 years. I'll just leave it at that. Forget about their credentials. But credentials don't count. Winning the NCAA was very impressive, but if you take 5 years off, all of a sudden you got to throw that batch out. Maybe I'm being hard on Bo, but I think that he's in a harder match than he's aware.
I think we need to come back to Vegas and play some bets before this goes down.
Now we're talking.
I'll be here. You guys send me the bread. I'll get down to it.
One more before we go. He's not on the card. He was originally going to be on the card. I'm so glad you brought up his name, Ben Askren. What an inspiration this guy is.
Okay, now this has never been clear. So you signed him to be a wrestler. All right, well, that was never clear. That's how I interpreted it. But another interpretation of an author that did a piece on that was that he was coming on to coach. So Ben was actually going to lace him up.
I wasn't a part of the original conversations. My understanding of those conversations, it was to come in as a coach, consultant, part of the team, executive team, so to speak. He spent about 5 minutes in that role and said, hey, tag me in.
That's awesome.
And he's always on the mat. When I won nationals at Arizona State, Ben Askren was an assistant coach there. And it wasn't in that tournament where he helped me. It was earlier in the year where his words resonated for me while I was in the middle of the match of the tournament. And something that he said just gave me the clarity and the confidence and the flexibility to do what I did in that moment. And I ended up winning in that match. But I just knew that having him in the room was going to be an advantage at some point during this year. And of course, every day on me, every day telling me these things, but I didn't know that it was going to be something he said earlier in the year while I'm in this tournament in March that helped me get into my national championship. I won the national championship with Askren in the corner just going crazy for us. I mean, it was an amazing, amazing moment for me, but I knew that it had a lot to do with my coaching staff and Sean Charles, Brian Stiff, and Ben Askren.
Well, guys, the Real American Freestyle audience is in good hands with this team. I'm so proud for you guys to be here and be a part of this because it's going to be exciting, and you guys are going to do a great job. Thank you very much, both of you.
Tickets are available now. Go to Ticketmaster.com for details.